What's going on, you guys? This is your boy, the Dark Rider from the Dirty South, Dominic, coming live and direct from the West Coast. Let's get into the topic. Now, I am by no means an expert. I am not an quasi 100. I am not a David Carroll. I'm not a Tommy Sotomayor. I'm not any of those guys. I'm just a dude on YouTube who does videos every now and then, once every blue moon, just putting my perspective out there. I am by no means an expert like those guys. I have a following like those guys. However, I do believe that I have a bit of a unique perspective that I would like to share. Now, with that being said, I had a young cat. I assume he was young. If not, my bad. But he said some things to me this morning that made me want to do a video and want to reply to him. And the reason that I'm doing this video is because a lot of younger cats feel like this, and a lot of men in general feel like this. And what exactly is that? What exactly am I addressing? Well, simply this is this whole notion that women hate them. It's this whole notion that men are attacking other men, but they don't go after women with that same vitriol. And my point to this young brother was that I get it. Trust me. America is a highly feminized culture. The feminists have pretty much taken over this culture. It's almost like we live in a society that has literally taxed manhood, that has literally made being a man almost illegal, in the sense that, a man or a little boy can do little boy stuff, and, people sort of like punish him for that. So I get that. But my point to that brother and to all of you guys is that men always have to be men. In other words, you never stoop to the level of what you perceive a woman to be. Now, that doesn't mean that you look down on women. I'm not saying that. Don't misconstrue what I'm saying. What I am simply saying is this, is if you believe that a woman is highly emotional, or, she's highly illogical, if you believe that, then men are put in there to create a sense of balance, or to create a stability. See, it's almost like the yin and the yang. We need women. Hell, I love women. I need a woman. You know what I mean? But she needs me too. But if I'm, quote unquote, being like her, then everything is going to be out of balance. And the other issue that I was going to address was just this issue, or this notion that at the end of the day, a lot of these cats deal with the wrong type of women. See, I'm going to tell you, when things started to change for me is when I started to focus on being with the right woman. Yes, you can look in culture. If you want to just talk about black women or whatever, for example, you have to understand something that I said in a couple videos. Black women are the most ostracized group of women probably in this country. They're the most hated, the most alienated. And because of that, a lot of them have a chip on their shoulders. So I'm coming at it from a point of understanding. That doesn't mean that I agree with how a lot of black women act. It just means that when I go into it with a lot of women, I understand that a lot of times our encounters with women are based on how they're already perceived. And a lot of these women know that this is how men perceive them. They perceive them negatively. And so a lot of these women just act out on that perception because they don't know any better, because that's become the expectation of a lot of sisters. So my point is this: you deal with the women who are, like Tariq Nasheed would say, you deal with the women that are qualified for your game. In other words, if a woman is humble, if a woman wants to be on your team, so to speak, if a woman is willing to get with the program, so to speak, those are women that you deal with. A lot of sisters have been hurt. That's why I made a video a while back talking about, a lot of black women experiencing trauma. A lot of black women have been molested. A lot of black women have been raped. a lot of black women have had all kinds of crazy things happen to them in this culture that has not happened to other groups of women by and large. And so because of that, a lot of black women have to be extra on guard for a lot of kooky people, a lot of weird people, a lot of things of that nature. Now, that doesn't mean that, you excuse the behavior. It just means that in the back of your mind, when you interact with a lot of black women, you have to know, okay, this person may be going through this. And at the same time, you deal with the women who are qualified for you to lace them with game. Like, here's the thing. Personally, I've seen a lot of these sisters, man, get with wrong guys and then they come double back to you. I've seen all that. Hell, but I think it's bigger than just a black woman issue. I think it's just a American woman issue in general. But to the second point of that, brother, he was talking about ElliotRodgers and how he couldn't get women and how women hated him and he sort of hated women. And here's the thing about ElliotRodgers. ElliotRodgers' problem was that he was a victim, if you will, of white privilege, of his own white privilege. He assumed because he came up in a culture, he came up in a family, if you will, where he had money, that he didn't have to develop his inner game. He didn't have to develop who he was on an emotional level. And so what was happening, he looked around and he saw all these guys getting these women. He looked around and even you could tell he was racist. He was calling men, oh, why are these white girls on this campus, dealing with the niggas and they ain't fucking with me and I'm a good guy. Well, the reason they ain't fucking with them because those guys have the inner game right. Though a lot of these men that complain don't have confidence to approach these women. That's one instance. In other instances, a lot of those men focus on the wrong type of women. When I stopped dealing with hood rats, when I started to deal with more of a classier type of woman, guess what? It's funny how my results change overnight. We have a culture right now that celebrates thugs and thoughts, straight up and down. Guys, we had a saying growing up that you don't turn a hoe into a housewife. Now guys are doing that. They're, wifing up strippers and everything else. Or women who, even some of the strippers may be cool people, but why would you want to wife a woman up who were willing to sell herself like that? So my point is, a lot of that, brother, and to these other guys is, man, it's about developing your inner game and looking. I'm gonna tell you what this Jamaican man told me back in Carroll City a long time ago. He said, son, the best fruit is always at the top of the tree. And I never could get it. And then he went on to explain. He said, because in order to get the best fruit, you have to literally climb to the top of the tree, work, and it's closest to the sun. It gets the most nutrients. He said most guys go for the low-hanging fruit. We don't want a woman that she may be decent looking, she's fine, we got to develop her. Like, I was with a girl a long time ago, and I could see the flower that she was. She was a little bit overweight, but you could tell that she was qualified for game. In other words, I could see that, man, if this girl just work out a little bit, if this girl just, maybe fix her hair up a little bit, man, this girl could go from being a 7, 8 to like a 10 real quick. But I understood that, and I was willing to take that quote-unquote project on. Why? Because she was a good woman. You sort of see what I'm saying? And so when I got with her and she was willing to listen to me, willing to humble herself, then the girl was a dime. You see what I'm saying? Now, obviously our relationship didn't work out, but my point is just to say, a lot of you guys, man, sit up here and blame women for the same things that you do yourself. Man, there's so many women out here that are good women that guys ignore them every day for thoughts. And then they get upset because the thoughts don't want them. And then they try to blame the whole collective of women. Well, these black women don't like me because of this. Well, Yeah, of course. You focusing on the black women that are thoughts. You focus on the black women that are porn stars and whores and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, of course, by mere mention that they are a thought, they're going to go with guys who are going to allow them to be thottish or support their thottism. So you're like the same guy, but you're going about it. You're going about it the wrong way. In other words, you're saying, oh, these black women love these thugs, these black women like this. But the reality is you want to do the same thing the thugs want to do. You want to act in the same way. You just mad because you ain't getting your bid in. Let's just keep it real, man. All I'm saying, at the end of the day, you have to take a personal assessment of yourself and say, what am I doing to keep attracting this same element in my life? I truly believe that God has no shortage of anything on this earth. The shortage is only with our perspective. If you, man, I'm dropping jewels right now. If you think there is a shortage, there is a shortage. I tell women all the time, there's no shortage of good men. I tell men, there's no shortage of good women. The shortage is in your mind. The Bible says this. It says, so as a man thinketh in his H-E-A-R-T, thinketh in his heart. Thinketh means to actively think, to actively believe in his heart. So is he. In other words, what you think will become your reality. Are there bad women out here? Absolutely. But guess what? I'm so busy focused on the good women in my life. I'm so busy focused on the women that are qualified for game that I stopped dealing with the women who would even want to down a brother like me and want to deal with some stupid dude. I don't do that. So at the end of the day, man, you have to be positive. You have to have that type of mindset. A lot of you guys focus so much on these thoughts that you got 100 good women passing you by every single day. And you're not developing your game. You're putting so much energy. See, I got a buddy who was sort of like a thug, and women liked him because the guy was ambitious. I'm not saying other brothers ain't ambitious, but if you spending all your time focusing on getting a woman, that's time that you could be using to get in the gym and work out, develop yourself. That's time that you could be using to write a book, to finish that project. I guarantee you, man, and I've seen it in my own life, and it's happening more and more, the better that I become as a man. The more you develop yourself, and you say, literally, you have to have this fuck it attitude. You literally have to have this attitude like, you know what, women, you are lucky to be in my presence. I'm not saying you be a butthole, but what I'm saying is the more you have that type of persona, after a while, the more you'll start to see that you'll be very, very good with women. Why? Because women across the board, whether they're white, black, or otherwise, want an ambitious man who's a go-getter. And if you're focusing all your energy on just that woman, that comes across as you don't have a life, number one. And number two, it comes across like this guy may be on some weird stuff, and you have to go back to, I'm saying women have to worry about being raped and killed and all this kind of stuff. Now, some of you logically say, well, why are they with these bad guys? They do all this stuff. But initially, it doesn't start out that way. A lot of these women get with those type of men because those men have demonstrated they have a life outside of them. And for the others, charge them to the game. Don't even worry about those type of women, man. I've seen it, man. I've had so many women who maybe rejected me, didn't want to deal with me, who have come back later. It's like, damn, you know, he was a handsome dude, or he was cool, maybe later on in life. At that time, you could decide whether you want to get back with him or holler at him or just keep it pushing, move it forward. But, man, don't put no energy into these women who ain't feeling you. Or ElliotRodgers just didn't develop himself. ElliotRodgers was one of those cats that was just mad at the world because he thought because he came from a background, a family with money, that automatically meant he was gonna get women. And then when he probably got around women, he was probably real creepy, didn't understand how to attract women, probably doing this, saying weird stuff, and so that stuff built up and he ended up snapping. Now I guarantee you he would have got women if he would have developed himself. He would have got a woman that he liked, and I guarantee you he probably ignored a lot of girls that actually did like him for him. Happens all the time. So I hope that answers my question. I hope that helps a lot of you brothers out, man. All right, this is your boy, the Dark Rider from the South, coming live and direct from the West Coast. Peace.